welcome back to Change Starts With You.
With me?
Awesome. Yes, with you and all the viewers. My name is Marley Tucker. I'm the Director of Development. Today, I have with me Mark Noon from Leadership 10.
Hey, Marley.
Thanks so much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be with you guys.
We're excited to highlight Leadership 10, the partnership that we've had, and how you guys give back in our community, how people can get involved with your programming. So again, thanks for being on today.
Yeah, it's my privilege.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, why don't we start by just kind of laying the foundation for what Leadership 10 is, how you kind of got here, your history, that sort of thing.
Okay. So, wow, how do we get started? We got started where I have two business partners, Diane Guthmuller, Rob Schieffer, and Rob and I got together about 5 years ago and said, you know, we've got this leadership thing that we've talked about. We've sort of lived this life of leadership for such a long time. Why don't we find some young guys that we know, guys from our church, wherever, and just start pouring back into young professionals? That's what we call it. So we figured ages 25 to 40, we would, just start giving of ourselves, giving of our knowledge, kind of thinking, where were we when we were 27, 28 years old? What would we have wanted somebody to tell us when it came to leadership, right? And so we just got together with about 4 guys. We said, let's meet once Saturday a month for 4 or 5 months and talk leadership. And we did. And we just talked about leadership, what their struggles were, what their challenges were, what we've learned over the years. And then we met Diane. We brought Diane in. We said, let's expand this thing a little bit further. So we started a regular fall and spring cohort. We call it a cohort. And we just, young professionals from pretty much Okaloosa County, some into Walton County. Now we've gone into Bay County, Santa Rosa County. So we've really expanded several counties within the Panhandle. And just, again, pouring into these young professionals. We have anywhere from 6 to 10 in any one cohort. We just finished our 10th group.
Oh, that's awesome.
And more than 70 graduates of that.
Wow.
And so we keep up with them. We ensure that we're available for them still, even 4 or 5 years later. We're still there if they have questions, want to know something about leadership, need some help with things. It's been really fun, really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what does a cohort normally look like? Tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, so every spring and fall, so starting in about August timeframe, we'll start the next cohort, which is typically 4 months. It's one Saturday a month. Typically, we will do 3 to 4 hours of content, and it's this group of 6 to 10 young professionals who we've screened, we've asked questions of, we've sort of delineated what the best group together might be.
Yeah.
We might get 15 or 20 people apply, and we pick 6 to 10. And they're typically, there's just a mix to them that just fits. And we know it just in talking with them, whether they're going to be a good fit. And we've said no to some. And then we've interviewed them the next cohort, and they sort of made the cut. And I don't mean like elitists made the cut. I mean, they just fit the right group. We had a group of 5 30-something women, all married with children, and one single guy who was 26 years old one time. I mean, that was the weirdest
really
year.
Fits, Mark.
Yeah, right? Nobody.
It fit for him, at least.
It's so funny is we had to warn him before he came in. We're not trying to set you up. These are all married women with children. Okay, so it was just kind of fun, to be able to do that. But it was a good fit, and he fit in so well with them. In fact, the last week that we were supposed to have the cohort, he couldn't make it. He got a trip to Paris. So all the women were so excited. He FaceTimed us from Paris on our last cohort. We finished up with all the leadership stuff, and he's in Paris filming, showing all the different sites that he was able to see. It was just kind of fun. So again, wonderful group of people. But then, which is where you guys came in, we decided last year that in the fall, we would do a nonprofit in our area. And we chose United Way. I mean, what better organization has great impact, wonderful outreach, right? The things that you're involved in really meet our purpose. And our purpose is really to be a resource for leaders who will boldly impact their communities, their organizations, their families, right? And you guys are a perfect fit for that.
I love that. A resource to boldly impact.
Yes, correct.
Wow, what a great statement.
Yeah.
You should be putting that everywhere. I feel like that's amazing.
Right, it is. It's on our website, right? But it's interesting because we started out with this, we want bold leaders, and we said, no, we want leaders who boldly impact.
Yeah,
right?
I like
There's
that better.
There's a difference between being a bold leader. Like you've got people who are very introverted, doesn't mean they can't be boldly doing something. They may not be bold leaders, right?
Yeah.
So there's a big difference. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I love it.
Nice.
So we were the first nonprofit cohort,
You were,
right?
right.
Which is super exciting.
Yes.
And also maybe a little bit terrifying.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
And before we go any further, I just need to publicly apologize to Rob and Diane for not inviting them on the podcast because Mark's my favorite. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. We know that. That's right.
No, because a portion of the cohort was one-on-one coaching and Mark was my coach.
Yes, exactly.
So I had a different relationship, not better, but different relationship with Mark. So that's how he got here. Yeah. And Rob and Diane didn't, but we still love both of them.
We do. Absolutely. We do.
But yeah, so doing that nonprofit cohort for the first time, taking our entire team together and working together, as opposed to, like you said, that kind of group of people that go together, but are ultimately representing different organizations.
Correct. So very different dynamic. You've got, we've had people from all different industries in the same room in those cohorts, and everything goes very well. But there's a difference when it's a cohesive group who work together day by day. Like, remember when we did the roles and responsibilities section, and we had all of you sort of on the wall with these pieces of paper writing out what you thought everybody else's role and responsibility were. And then they would go up and tell you what their role and responsibility, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, you do that? I thought so-and-so did that, right? Yeah. That was a neat experience for us. We've done that in the business side of our work lots of times, but we've never done it in the cohort. So it was really an eye-opener for you guys as well as for us to see, wow, you really have, it promotes this communication and conversation about where you fit.
Yeah.
Right? And am I really doing the right thing? As director of operations, is this my role, or should this be Aubrey's role? Should this be Kelly's role, or whoever?
Yeah.
Right? And what I love too is when we first approached Kelly with this idea, she didn't hesitate, right? Who would not want free leader development for your entire team, who some of them may not even consider themselves to be leaders, but you certainly are. Look at the impact you have in the community.
Right. Like if you're not leading teammates, you're leading volunteers, you're leading the community, you're leading our nonprofits. You're a leader in one way, shape, or form, definitely. Yeah. Did you see that my poster is still hanging in my office?
I did not notice that. I'll let you know.
On the way back, you'll have to check and see. I think most of us still have our posters still hanging in our office.
That's what I love about the impact of what we're able to do. Yeah. And then you take that and you carry it with you to all these different places, right?
Definitely. You mentioned earlier, and I took a little note, you said that you thought about when you were creating the organization, when you were 25, what would you want someone to tell you as a leader? Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because I'm 27, about to be 28. And I mean, that's literally what I'm getting. I'm getting a leader who's telling me this is what I wish I would have known. Right. And to be able to experience that with my teammates all together, I mean, just like game changing to be able to understand this is how Maya works. This is how Kelly works. Yeah. And this is how I need to adapt to be able to work with them. I think that was one of my favorite parts, definitely. Right. Getting to experience like the communication styles, the personality assessments, not just because like I'm a sociology major and that stuff I just like geek out on, which I know Diane and I kind of bonded on. Yes. But because I can take my CD and then go to Kelly's IS or ID, DI, right? And I could be like, okay, this is where I need to adjust this conversation so that we're both on the same page. Right.
And I love that you said the word adapt to your style, right? We don't ever expect anybody to change who they are. I mean, you were created this way. This is who you are. So how do you adapt? How do you flex so that you can fit in with an ID when you're a CS or whatever you might be? And you and I, we had those great conversations about, okay, how do I communicate with this group of people? How do I communicate with this? And what I love is that all of you took that and you used it. It wasn't just information, put it on a shelf. Yeah. You actually did things with it and continue to, just in the fact that you've got all your posters still up in your offices.
Yeah, definitely. Because you and I were opposite on the DISC. That's what we're talking about, the DISC assessment. I know everyone who's listening is probably like, what's DICS? Right. The DISC assessment, personality assessment, DISC motivators, and communication style. Right. All of those things. So we were opposite, which was actually really helpful to me because I would say something. Yeah. And Mark had this great way of being like, okay.
Yeah, right.
The way I think about it is, and there's value in both of the ways that we think about it, but how do we kind of use both of those motivators and styles to be better and improve?
Correct.
So that was really, really cool.
Good. I'm so glad.
The other part that I said that I liked the most, and I put this in my notes so that I could brag on you a little bit, was the one-on-one coaching. Which we're talking about right now, that one-on-one coaching. Just because to have like someone who has experience that's willing to pour that into you, I mean, that's invaluable. Sometimes you get that just naturally, right? You get blessed with that amazing leader. And that person just really helps to bring you to the next stage in your career or to the next stage in your personal life, whatever that looks like. But it's not as often that you get somebody who is intentionally doing that. And it's something that I haven't experienced in that way. So I really enjoyed that. Mark does a lot of like public speaking and things like that. He's also an author. So I'm just gonna, if you wanna, he's cringing at the fact that I'm doing this, but if you want to get his book. I do a lot of public speaking in my role as well. So having that kind of matchup and hearing from you and the communication wheel and the ways that you're able to go from one point to another to make sure you're connecting with your audience, no matter who that audience is, was really, really valuable to me. I wrote down another note too when you were talking earlier, because I remembered that communication wheel. One of the things was connecting through stories, because you're more likely to remember that story. And I think I've heard you tell like 3 stories already about L10. And I'm like, look at him putting it into practice.
Every day. Stories are sort of, they call it data for the soul, right? There's information in data, and you can put numbers and spreadsheets, and some people really relate to that. But when you take that information, you translate it to real life occurrences, right? Even if you think about how, when we talked about how you would present to people, right? How you would go and say, here's what the United Way is doing. And how do you tap into each of those different motivators and each of those different behavioral styles, so that just one story or one thing you say is going to reach out and grab somebody at the heart and get them involved in what you're doing. Exactly. I like that you use it all, Marley. I appreciate that.
Of course we do.
Yeah, you do. You guys are good at it.
I was just telling Mark, or Kelly was just telling Mark earlier, that we talked about the DISC motivators in an interview with someone this morning.
Yeah, exactly. For hiring, right? Making sure they're the right fit. And you know, you and I being very opposite behavioral styles, if you were working for me or I was working for you, it would be a good fit because we complement each other, right? Who wants to hire somebody who's just like you? You already do what you do. You need somebody else to be on the other side of that. Right?
Well, maybe I think I want to hire someone that's just like me.
You do,
and then they come in and I'm like,
then you're like this.
Yeah, I'm like, why is this not working? Oh, that's why.
Exactly, right? And it's more like this you want people to be. And that's sort of opposite, but they mesh, right? It's not this kind of a thing. And it's hard. It's hard because people do want to surround themselves with people just like them. Versus maybe having some variety in there that complements and it makes them better. There's a really big importance in finding that value in those differences and using that to be your strengths. And I think L10 did a really great job of explaining that to us, teaching it to us. I think we all knew it, but the knowing and the putting into action are 2 very different things. And as someone who's a CD, when you give me those worksheets and you tell me those exactly what to do things, I'm like, I love it. I love it so much. Right. Well, we get, and Marley always had to have the worksheet and make sure all the answers were filled out and everything, right? We did timesheets and things like that with them, and some of them had them handwritten in just this messy page, and Marley and I think and Aubrey had them all typed out in perfect format. I mean, it's just a difference in how we are, who we are, right? So
it would drive me crazy if we would go to like a coaching session and you would be like, how are you? Like just 5 minutes ago, how are you? And I'm like telling you how United Way is. And Mark's like, personally, how are you?
I had to say it, didn't I? I had to say personally, how are you doing?
And I'm like, oh yeah.
Because you want to go right to the task.
Exactly. Exactly. But well, we very greatly appreciate it. Our team talks about it so much to this day. We would recommend it to so many others, not just nonprofits, but individuals, young professionals, all different types of people can really benefit from the kinds of programming that you guys do. So we really, really appreciate it. But tell me what's next. What are your goals looking forward? What's on the horizon for L10?
So we have the cohort side, and then we have our business side too. So we do travel with the business. We're out of state at least 2 to 3 times a month with clients around. We've got clients a lot locally in the Panhandle as well. And really, we started the business side of this just to fund the nonprofit side, or the side where we're pouring in. And it just kind of blossomed into this great business. And so I've been working it full time. Rob and Diane are part time, and it's just really grown in that way, which has been fun. So we have lots of opportunities, lots of things happening there. We hope to have a leadership conference sometime in next spring. We're really kind of formulating those ideas for that, something locally where people want to travel from other states to come here, because who doesn't want to come to the beach area for a conference in February when you're trying to get out of the cold. But for the cohort this fall, we'll do another nonprofit. We haven't decided which one it is, but it'll be one here in Okaloosa or Walton County area. We got an interview coming up next week, I think, to determine if particular one. And then in the we call spring, which really starts in January through April, we will do our next sort of mixed group of professionals. And so sometime around November, we will put out a call to all the previous folks like yourselves and others and say, hey, who do you recommend to be part of the next cohort? And we'll get 15, 20, 30 applications, and we'll wean that down to maybe 10. Yeah. And then we'll, start the next group in January. And that's just like with you guys, 1 day a month of intense leader development, and then the one-on-one coaching where we split everybody up. Diane gets some, Rob gets some, I get some, and we match them. Yeah. We go and we coach on whatever's important to you. It's related to the topic, but it's also what's important to that person. And so we also offer this, and this, that anybody who's been part of our cohort can contact us anytime and say, hey, can I have an hour? Let's talk about this element of leadership. And we're happy to do that for them. So
definitely. Yeah. So if someone's listening right now and they're like, this is my jam. Yeah. Sign me up, Mark. Yeah. Yeah. When they apply, is there anything that sets them apart? Like, is there anything that you're looking for specifically? I know that question wasn't on the list. Right. No, it's... But you're not doing it to me. I'm doing it to you. And you're prepared for those types of things, and I'm not.
Marley had a list of possible questions I might ask her before we came in, and I said I would not put you on the spot because I know how prepared you have to be. There's nothing specific that we look for. It's ages 25 to 40. Yeah. Ish. We've had in the 40s. We had one 24-year-old, so it's not necessarily we go outside that, but we really try to find that 25 to 40. Yeah. Typically, probably our average age has been early 30s, 31, 32, average age. Married, unmarried, doesn't matter. Whatever industry, doesn't matter. We really try to cover all sort of 7 areas of culture: government people, business people, religion and family, all the different arts and entertainment, all of those areas. We like a mix. We don't want everybody from the same. For our mixed cohort, we want everybody from lots of different industries. The other is they've got to sort of be in a position of potential leadership or leadership where they have impact in the community. And that's not to say that there isn't somebody who's 26 years old, who's just starting out, maybe graduated college 2 years ago, whatever, that they're not a good fit, because we've had that. But we're really looking for that person who's sort of in a role, a position that they have impact in our world. And I say our world, meaning the Panhandle area. Right. That's the sort of criteria. So that they can have bold impact. Is that what it was? That's right. So they can boldly impact. boldly impact. Yeah. Love it. Love it so much. All right, Mark, is there anything else that I missed that you wanted to talk about? Leadership10.org. So leadership, T-E-N, spelled out T-E-N.org. And then if they want to apply for the cohort, there's a little tab on the top called Giving Forward. It's our Giving Forward program is what we call it. You'll go there, you'll see a video, there'll be an application on that page. You can fill it out anytime. We're not going to interview for the next one until, like I said, November timeframe, December, but they can fill it out now, and we'll hold it. I mean, we've had people fill it out a year in advance and say, I can make the next one. Yeah. So the other thing about the cohort is very specifically, once we determine the dates are hard and fast. You don't miss it unless there's, something really serious that happens. And so we're very strict about those kind of things as best we can be, but life happens, and we're always flexible with that too. So. And you're not going to want to miss it. You're not. You're not going to want to miss it. It's hard to make up when you miss one. As you've experienced, when you go through all those, you think, wow, if I'd have missed that 3 hours, I would be totally behind. Totally behind and have like severe FOMO. Right, exactly. What are you guys all talking about that I don't know? Exactly. Mark, catch me up. Right. No, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Absolutely. Again, really appreciate the partnership with L10. You guys have been game changing for our organization, which just gets multiplied by all the nonprofits
that we serve, all of their clients, all of our clients. So we really appreciate your generosity in that as individuals and as an organization. So if you want to get involved with L10, go to
Leadership10.org.
Leadership 10, not L10, because that's not going to take you anywhere. Go to leadership10.org.
Correct.
And we love Mark. We also love Rob. We also love Diane. We love all three of them.
We do.
Equally. But Mark the most.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Appreciate it.
And we'll talk again soon.
Good. Thanks, Marley.
Thank you.
Take care.